Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here. Today we're doing something different. We're going to do an astrology chatty video. Like, just imagine you're having a conversation with your astrologer friend in a coffee shop and they're spilling information. This is the format of these videos that I do whenever I try to introduce information to you, because I feel most comfortable just having like a natural quote-unquote conversation, because it's actually a monologue, but still we can have a conversation in the comment section. I do have my notes here with me for today's topic, but just gonna say that I did not get to prepare notes for all the signs that I'm going to talk about today, because if I had to do it, it means that I wouldn't have got the chance to film today. So yeah, I'm gonna go unscripted at some point, and usually these videos are my favorite when I just do things unscripted. So today we're talking about progressions. Progressions are very simple technique to predict things through astrology. There are better predictive techniques, but they're a lot more complex. I think my favorite is zodiacal releasing, but I've tried it once or twice for me and with the charts of my friends, and I'm not very experienced in it, so I won't talk about it, but I think it's just more detailed, more accurate. However, I've had very accurate predictions with progressions, with progressed charts, and this is what I do for my clients as well, and I find them to be very on point. So it's simpler but still very effective. So what are progressed charts? Basically, when you're born, your natal chart is a snapshot of the transit at the time, in the day, and at this location where you were born. So these transits, they continue to move after you were born. You only have a snapshot which serves as a natal chart, but the transits continue to move, the planets continue to move, and every day after your birth, the transits for that day, you take them and you calculate the amount of days, you convert those that amount into years, and basically when you are, for example, 5 years old, you would have a progressed chart that looks exactly like the transits 5 days after you were born, when you are 5 days old. So yeah, basically you take the transits and each day equals 1 year. That's why progressions move very slow. However, the sun, the moon, they move, the sun moves 1 degree per year. The moon is very fast. Mercury, Venus, they're pretty close with the sun. Mars changes signs throughout life, in progressions if you live long enough, obviously. But Mars is still a bit slow, and then Jupiter, Saturn, and the rest of the outer planets, they move so slow that you don't really pay attention to them in progressions. But what you can do is observe the aspects that they make. Because, for example, Pluto could be sitting 5 degrees far from your sun sign in your natal chart, and in progressions, in a couple of years, Pluto maybe moved like 3 or 4 degrees, got into an orb where it's going to make an aspect. It would conjunct your sun, or it would square your Venus, while in your natal chart, Pluto wasn't doing this. So you can watch and observe aspects with the outer planets, because even though they move very slow, if they're on the cusp, if you have any of the outer planets at 29, 27, 28 degrees, if you have them on the cusp between two houses, like at the end of your 5th house, but it's almost going to enter the 6th, in progressions, you're gonna see changes there, but it's very likely that these outer planets won't change a sign, except if they're not on the cusp of that sign, obviously. But yeah, you really pay attention to the inner planets in progressions, because they create the movement, they create the events, they trigger the events and the activations in your life and also in your character. A progressed chart is used to not only predict external events, but also to track the evolution of your soul, because this is basically how you progress as an individual, how you grow into the next version of yourself. And they're very, very fun to observe and to, you know, see how they correspond to your life, basically compare. So I think it's very clear how the progressed chart moves and why the outer planets move so slowly. Because imagine if you live up to 80 years, for 80 days Pluto will not budge more than like 5 or maybe even 7 degrees, or I think it's gonna be even less than that, honestly, depending if it's gonna go retrograde a lot or not. So the outer planets, because they won't move that much for the amount of days, which equate the amount of years most of us will most likely live, that's why in progressions you don't see much movement with the outer planets. That's why they're so slow. You've got a lot more action with the outer planets in transits. This is where you get the action with outer planets. But aspects are important. Now, today, I want to talk about the sun, because the sun is really fun to observe. Now, the moon moves the fastest, and you're gonna, if you want to track changes periodically in shorter cycles, you want to watch out for your moon progressions, because once the moon changes a sign, your inner world shifts, your outlook on life shift. It's very interesting. However, the sun really creates meaningful experiences and transformations and changes, at least in my opinion. So your sun progresses 1 degree per year, which means that if you were born with a sun sign at 15 degrees Gemini, when you turn 15 years old, you've got a 15-degree progression. You add it to your natal placement, to the degree of your natal placement, so 15 plus 15, you've got 30, but you don't have such thing as a 30-degree in astrology. You have 29 Gemini, 29 59 minutes, and then boom, once it is supposed to hit 30 degrees, it's actually 0 degrees the next sign. So when you turn 15, when you turn 15 years old, you will have a sun in Cancer. So from Gemini it goes to Cancer right away. If you were born in the middle of Gemini, in the mid of Gemini season, when you're 15 years old, you will become a progressed Cancer sun. Now, don't get me wrong, you will always keep your natal chart, you will always have it, it will always define the core of who you are. The progressed chart shows you how you've built up on top of who you are, how you've progressed, how you've transformed. The natal chart is like the promise, the destiny, the contracts, the karma, all the things that you carry with yourself from your past lives, and just your mission. Basically, if you want to dissect your life, why you're here, how come, what is expected out of you, you look at your natal chart. But if you want to see what external events will happen and how they will mold you and what are you most likely going to be dealing with, you also want to look at your progressions. It's very interesting when you combine, the natal with the progressed, with transits, when you combine different astrological techniques. But remember, just because you have a progressed sun sign doesn't mean you've become that sign. You will be influenced by that sign, but you will always remain at your core with the soul mission of your sun sign. So I'm a Scorpio, I'm born as a Scorpio, and I will always have the lessons of a Scorpio. I will always deal with my Sagittarius rising influence. I will always have my Leo moon. However, through progressions, I can see how periodically I will change and integrate the pieces to the puzzle of the greater vision for my sun sign. So imagine you have a pizza pie that's your sun sign. Like, you're born as a, okay, I'm gonna use myself as an example. I'm born as a Scorpio, but when I become a Sagittarius progressed sun, I am sort of adding the Sagittarian nuances to my Scorpio sun. It's like you enrich your sun sign by developing and progressing and evolving and adopting new archetypal energies. You enrich the original core of who you are, the ego. Think of yourself as, think of your sun sign, your natal sun sign, as your ego, and all the progressed sun signs that you will go through, which they won't be more than 3 if you live that long, they're just variations to your ego. They're kind of like different masks or different aspects that needed to be integrated, but at the core you still remain as the ego, as the soul, as the original sun sign of your natal chart. So now, progressions can activate inner changes as well as external events, and I'm gonna begin with what happens when your sun goes into Aries. What happens when your sun progresses from Pisces into Aries? So it's very important to think of where we come from with the progression. When you go into Aries, you come from Pisces. You were the sleepy, dreamy, lost artist, and you're one with the universe. You were experiencing unconditional love. Maybe you had escapism tendencies. You were very idealistic, very, very dreamy, very intuitive, very emotional, very empathetic. You had no control. You were like a sponge, feeling everyone around you. Maybe you were an energy healer, master, Reiki master. Maybe you were a psychic. But once your sun goes into Aries, all of these ideals, all of the dreams, all of the visions, all the intuition, the empathy is now backed up by a lot of fire. Suddenly, it's like you wake up from the dream and you're like, I don't just want to dream about this world, I want to experience it in real life. Suddenly, you start pursuing the ideals. You don't escape through the ideals from real life. You pursue the manifestation of your ideals in real life. Now, Aries is not necessarily where you see the manifestation, but Aries is the pursuit of said manifestation. So you will start pursuing an artistic career. You will become very passionate about all the things that you did in the past from pure love and joy. Now you will do them ambitiously. Now you want to make this a huge part of your individuality. Individuality will become huge for you if, as a Pisces sun, you are okay with not being seen, being a muse, being the lost artist, and maybe even not standing out much. You are okay with merging with everyone and everything around you. When your sun goes into Aries, you will not be okay with these things. You would like to be seen, you would like to be acknowledged, you would like your existence to be validated. All the fire signs need validation. They do what they do to prove that they are alive, that they exist, that they are part of creation. And on the other hand, at the same time, they themselves are very, very procreative, because if they're part of creation, they want to move creation. So as your sun goes into Aries, you want to move all the dreams into real life, and you might get really into sports. If you were someone who needed 12 hours of sleep, you may have a completely new sleeping regime where suddenly you sleep a lot less. Suddenly you do everything to get high quality sleep for less time, so you don't waste your time. You start a workout program, you sign up for a gym class, because Aries rules not technology but machinery. You may get your first car, you may get into You may get interested in cars, in any activity that is adrenaline oriented. You may get really interested in extreme sports and taking risks. It's like you become the foe in tarot. You just jump into new beginnings. You are super excited about new opportunities. You start a lot of things. Aries is the sign of the startups, a business startup, a a new beginning in education, a new beginning in this, a new beginning in that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will carry out the new beginning until the end and you will see it fully blossom, but you will begin it. You will definitely begin something. There is definitely that spark. Now, with Aries, you will feel an extreme amount of separation. All of a sudden, you will realize you're not connected to everyone because other people are not responsible for you and your reality. In Aries, you will realize I'm the only one who experiences my reality. And at the same time, you'll be like, I'm the only one who's responsible for my reality. I better start moving. So you would feel suddenly separated from source. You would feel a lot more responsible, and therefore you will become more action oriented because suddenly you're no longer a victim. It will be difficult for you to sit in a victim mentality, in an escapist mentality. Although Aries doesn't necessarily carry out things until the end, Aries definitely tries to create consciously. Aries is the sign where the soul begins to develop a free will, its own will, a will separate from the collective. So a lot of you, if you were part of like communities where you would create together, you would manifest together, now suddenly you want to create your own purpose, you want to do your own thing. You will no longer feel like it's okay to merge within a shared collective purpose. You would feel like your life and existence is more important than that or bigger than that, and you would want to stand out through the things that you do. Come on. Okay, so what else about Aries? Let me take a look at my notes. Yeah, it's likely that you would become more extroverted. You would be interested in doing things alone in general, like not just things about career or purpose, but things alone in general. You would want an adventure, you would want to risk life because suddenly you may realize that, oh my god, life is short and there are so many things I haven't got to experience. You will seek experiences that will stimulate your independence. A lot of the confusion around who you are and what you want to do will clear up as well. The lack of motivation will disappear. The okayness with being average, being just, part of the collective and just flowing and swimming in the collective ocean, that will not sit right with you. With Aries, oh yeah, when your sun goes into Aries, some of you may have like major accidents, especially with cars, vehicles, machinery. So be careful if you're operating machinery around your progression. Now, let me tell you, the events around the progressions, they don't happen like right on the date when you turn a certain age and the sun goes into that degree of the new sign. It can happen 2-3 years into your progression or 2 years prior to the progression sometimes. But definitely the 2 to 3 years around the moment of progression are the most intense, and you will feel most intensely the transition from one sign into the other, and events that indicate the progression are most likely to happen then. And from there on, it's gonna be still external events, but they're gonna be more so a result of your inner world changing, your mental shift basically. But yeah, with Aries, accidents are likely to happen. Some sort of harm to the head is likely to happen, so be careful. especially if you suddenly want to like do extreme things and adrenaline oriented things, then you wonder why you had an accident. So you definitely need to exercise more caution. If you have this progression, it's very important to find a way to control the fire within, because you've been all water, but Pisces is ruled by Neptune, so it's not just water. Pisces is gas. Gas that makes you hallucinate. Gas that once you light it up with fire, you might as well explode. So this transition may be very tough on the body. It may be tough on your adrenaline system, on your glands. It may be tough physically and physiologically speaking, and you may end up burned out in a hospital because all your life you've been used to one lifestyle, sleeping this many hours, resting, not stressing about certain things. And now with Aries, all the stress, all the flight or fight modes are activated all the time. So it will take some time to adjust. But definitely, if you felt like you've been sluggish all your life or prior to this progression, once you have it, you will no longer struggle with this. You will have the energy and the motivation. Okay, moving on to Taurus. So with Taurus, everything that you started with Aries, all the little or bigger successes, in Taurus, you will maintain everything that worked out, everything that proved itself to be a constant, a secure thing, something that offered comfort, money, stability, security, all of these things. It's very likely that you will desire to settle down in a specific career path. You will be very sure about what you want, about the career, about the values that you want to stand up for. It's a solidification moment when you jump from Aries into Taurus, because Aries has been paving the path, and now Taurus is like, I can lay back and relax now. I can enjoy the fruits of my labor. I can slow down and trust that I've worked hard enough, long enough. Tauruses can create, a Taurus progression can create inertia, however. So you may find yourself in a routine. You may find yourself in a comfort zone. If Aries is all about getting out of the comfort zone, when you progress into Taurus, you're most likely going to be tired. So you would want to just chill, relax, enjoy the pleasures of life. You will be a lot more oriented toward harmony and beauty rather than conflict, fighting for the things that you want. Suddenly with Taurus, you want to be magnetic. You're like, I deserve it. Suddenly all the things that you manifest come from a place of magnetism rather than chasing and pursuing them, because now Venus is here. I think of this transition from Aries into Taurus, and I'm writing about this in my PDF, which I'm going to publish at some point. I'm going to share it with you, I promise. How when you have this move from Aries into Taurus, it's the warrior that enters the temple of love, and suddenly the warrior surrenders. So you can think of yourself as a warrior that surrendered to love, harmony, beauty, nature, however, in a much more practical way. So you're not like Pisces, where you escape, you cannot pay your rent, but you feel unconditional love from the universe. No, it's gonna be the type of love where you feel loved, cherished, taken care of, provided for by the universe, yet you realize that it's been your work that brought this, into your life, that brought all the abundance into your life. You may try to be calmer if you've had any anger issues, which with an Aries most likely you would. Now you're gonna become a lot more calm, a lot slower. You may try to also incorporate slower ways of working out, so maybe replacing HIIT workouts with yoga or Pilates, or just longer stretching, or instead of running, sprinting, now you're running a marathon. Instead of boxing, you're weight training, something like that. It's workouts that are less aggressive and slower, and there is a mind to muscle connection, because with Aries there isn't much mind to muscle connection. It's like trusting the instinct. Aries is very intuitive with their body. They trust their instincts. They're very quick on their feet making decisions. Taurus is not like that. Taurus needs time to think, relax, observe, think of the bull's eye that needs to observe the situation, then approach it, then attack. With Taurus you'll be also a lot more self-assured. You will be a lot more self-assured in your values, in your own self-worth. It's gonna be a period to develop your self-worth. You'll be also focused on a lot more on your beauty, your aesthetic. So should I even say it, you're gonna get into arts and crafts, and some of you may become people who suddenly transform into someone super interested in perfumes, cosmetics. Suddenly you want to take care of your skin. Suddenly you want to put all the bio-organic foods in your body and nothing lesser than that. Suddenly you just take care of the physical and you slow down and enjoy life. You may find yourself having a creative breakthrough, of course, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. So all the artists that maybe you felt like, how am I going to make money? I need to do this and that with my art. Suddenly you may become very magnetic and realize that by doing what you love, you make a lot more. By doing what you love, life is just better. The shadow aspect here is that you may settle down for a higher pay, but if you don't have that inherent self-worth and values, if you remain in the mindset of Aries that life is to be fought for, you need to fight for life, you need to fight to remain alive, you need to fight to prove your existence, and to get validation that you exist. If you remain in that mindset, you're gonna operate from the shadow of Taurus, where you settle down for a lot of money, but you don't find meaning or beauty or harmony, or pleasure from doing your job, and you may make a lot but still be miserable. So that's why the inertia, the unwillingness to change and transform, the almost natural slipping into a comfort zone and a secure comfort zone, that can sabotage the other gifts that Taurus can bring. During this progression, you will also be a lot more connected to nature. So spending time with nature may augment your abundance. It may accumulate more money into your life. It may accumulate more health and just improve your life overall. Taurus is the sign of resources. So it would be very important for you to become resourceful and to nurture yourself and to sustain a nurtured state of being. With Taurus, because it's ruled by Venus, we've got the planet of love and beauty. Those of you who are into the fashion industry, into the modeling industry, you may land your first job. Yeah, when you have this progression, by the way, from Aries into Taurus, you may land your first high-paying job. You may land a really big long-term job, because this is about commitment and long-term stuff. It's an fixed earth sign. You may be discovered, your art may be discovered, your beauty may be discovered by an agency. You might find yourself being a lot more appreciated than usual without doing as much as you used to do. Just, you're allowed to relax. You have new hobbies related to arts, crafts, music. Those of you who are singers or who wanted to be singers, you may have your first song come out, because Taurus rules the throat and the vocal cords, and usually Taurus placements give you a great voice, if they're not afflicted, these placements. If you don't have like Saturn in Taurus or anything like that. Great voice, so you may have like, especially imagine you were born 25 or 24 degrees in Aries, with your natal sun. When you're 5 years old, you progress into Taurus, and suddenly your parents discover that you're a great singer. They sign you up for classes. You start to build the security for your future from such a young age. You work, but you do what you love. You do what you're good at naturally. So yeah, that's it. It's really, Venus here gives you natural recognition, natural appreciation. You receive abundance. You're being seen, and you're being valued as well. You may acquire your first piece of land, because this is something that Taurus rules. You may also enter the agricultural business when you have this progression, by the way. Whether you are an active participant in an agricultural, business, or you just invest in it passively, either way, I think a lot of you can make money off of that when you have this progression. So, moving on to Gemini. With Gemini, all the inertia in Taurus, all the comfort, suddenly you're bored, and you want diversity, you want new experiences, and you find a way to draw new experiences to yourself. With Gemini, you're looking for expanding your horizons, finding new people, meeting new friends, hearing new ideas, just broadening your mind and broadening your intellectual capacity, opening yourself up to more knowledge, more information. When your sun progresses into Gemini, there are two ways in which this can go. People will either see you as someone who is suddenly very stupid because you're asking so many questions, even like questions that are common sense. Geminis ask these questions honestly out of habit, sometimes not because they don't know, they just ask. People with Gemini placements, just to keep the conversation going, just because they have an inner dialogue or monologue, they would say it out loud, they would reenact their inner monologues with you, and that is just a habit, and people are like, why are you asking me such a stupid question? But honestly, they know the answers, they just wanna have a conversation, exchange information. So people will either see you as someone who someone's IQ has went down all of a sudden, or someone who is suddenly getting super smart and super educated real fast. With Gemini, it's likely that you would enter school, sign up for a program, a class, a course, start learning a new language, start learning a new skill. You may find yourself traveling a lot more, especially commuting in the city, or having short trips around the city, outside of the city. You may find yourself working in a very distant area from where you live, so you're always commuting between point A and B. You may find yourself living in two different areas, especially if you have this as a child, or even later on in life, you may have your parents divorce. If you have this as a child, or earlier in life, you may have like a sibling come into the picture, and now there is a split with Gemini and with Mercury, so suddenly you may feel like now you have to share the love that you received, all the abundance, all the resources, all the care, all the attention. Now you gotta split it between you and your sibling, between you and someone else. Gemini in the third house, because it also rules vehicles, you may get your car. There is a sense of freedom that comes with Gemini. You're either just becoming more freedom loving, and if you were in a committed relationship, you might break apart. You may realize that you want to explore, you want to try different things with different partners. Some of you, from someone who is very traditional, imagined a family all their life, may become polyamorous, and now you just want to date and have fun with people and be free, not commit, not anchor yourself to one individual. You may have if in Taurus you are doing all the investments, all the purchases, now you may have a couple of apartments all over the country or the globe, and you're traveling between all of them. With Gemini, there is also the integration of polarities, or the alchemy of polarities. My cat is going crazy. Wow, that's Gemini energy, by the way. When you think of cat zoomies, that's Gemini energy. But yeah, with Gemini, we've got polarities. So anyone who suddenly has a progression or a transit that activates Gemini energy in their chart, you will see how, and this applies when you have a progressed sun, you will start doing, saying, becoming all the things you promised you would never do, say, or become. All the things you said never to, now you're gonna do it. Now you're gonna somehow end up in a situation that you said you would never be part of. And that's because Gemini have these karmic lessons around trying everything, being flexible, being open-minded, being a mutable air sign, experiencing it all, and holding simultaneous beliefs in different corners, in different polarities of different spectrums, and holding these beliefs at the same time and remaining in the center and being able to juggle them, being able to put on all sorts of masks. With a Gemini progressed sun, you may realize how much more of a chameleon you are, how much more of a social butterfly you are, and how much more of an adaptable person you are. Maybe with Taurus, you were stubborn. You knew what you liked. You were like, I'm not trying this, I'm not trying that. I like this meal and this meal only. I'm gonna eat this and nothing else. I like this group of friends and only them. I don't like other people. Don't invite them to my birthday. When you become a sun in Gemini, now you want to invite acquaintances. Now you want to invite someone you met 3 days ago. Now you just want to have fun. You just want to bring people together from all places around the world and from all different social circles and bubbles, and just see how they mesh up together and have fun observing that, honestly. And you will become the sticky glue that ties everyone together, because you're the one holding all opposite ideas that people hold one polarity of. You hold both polarities, and you kind of become a mediator between all of these different people and different ideas. So it's very fun when you have a progression in Gemini, but because it's ruled by Mercury, oh, I forgot, you could write your first book, or at least begin writing your first book, and then later when you have transits in Sagittarius, especially by benefic planets like Venus, Jupiter, maybe Neptune, not so much Neptune, it depends. Venus, Jupiter, maybe Mercury, and they oppose your sun, or they, because they're in Sagittarius, and they oppose your progressed sun in Gemini. This is when your book may get published, because you will begin things in Gemini. You will begin writing the book. But Sagittarius rules the publishing industry, so when you have transits activating the Sagittarian axis, there will be an opposition, but oppositions are not always negative, especially, for example, Sun-Jupiter opposition. It can bring a lot of great ideas out in the world. Sometimes oppositions are better than trines. Trines make us lazy and we take them for granted often. So an opposition like that can show you the moment when you will publish what you started writing when you had the progression in the first place. But yeah, with Gemini progression, you will begin a lot of projects that are intellectual, and you will sum them up when you have activations in Sagittarius, most likely. I was going to say something else about Gemini. Let me check out my notes. Gemini, what else? I think that's it. When you have this progression, it's very likely that you will experience some sort of polarizing, separative experience, situation where you have to be at two places at once, you have to be two different people at once. Oh yeah, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury and it rules the mind, you may get certain things unlocked, certain mental stuff unlocked, such as a bipolar disorder. Um, I mean, any mental disorder that makes you feel like you're many different people, or you've got all these different emotions and thoughts that fight for attention and for expression, that's ruled by Gemini. So be careful with this, especially if when your sun progresses in Gemini, you have like Jupiter in Gemini, natal Jupiter in Gemini, because Jupiter in Gemini rules schizophrenia, it rules. I mean, Jupiter is a benefic planet. However, it's in detriment in Gemini because it's the opposite to its sign of rulership. And if you have your progressed sun at some point conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, you may feel like you're no longer having fun being all sorts of different personalities. That's why, of course, progressions can look different for all of us. So for some of us, it can be great. For some of us, it can be difficult. But you may figure out that I don't like being so expensive in many different fields because I feel scattered. I feel like I'm all over the place. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't recognize myself anymore. That can be something difficult with a sun progressing in Gemini. And even the sun itself, the sun is the ego, it's the individuality. And Gemini is like, I am everyone and everything. So it's gonna be a bit difficult to find your calling or to figure out who you are. But because you're having so many experiences, you're drawing a lot of wisdom without even knowing. And because you're playing with so many different options in life, you're more likely to find your calling rather than if you were just focused on one thing. So that is the paradox of Gemini. By feeling like you're not really focused on anything, you develop so many skills. At some point you realize that it's the experience which allowed you to decipher what you like and what you don't like. You also get to know yourself with this progression. The next one is when your sun progresses into Cancer. So this one is interesting because you become introverted, you want to spend more time at home, you become a homebody basically. Homebody, I said buddy, I don't know why. You become a homebody. You become very interested in finding a place where you can lay down your roots and anchor yourself. You become very interested in finding a place that is safe, secure, cozy, comfortable, somewhere where you feel like you can be yourself and you can come out of the shell. You may become very interested in purchasing a home, or you may move back with family. If you lived alone or if you traveled a lot, if you studied abroad, for example, as a Gemini sun, when your sun transitions into Cancer, you're either settling down in a new country and you're making a home out of it, or you're coming back home to live with your family or to live in your hometown. There is a lot of nostalgia. You feel misunderstood. You feel like you need familiarity. So when you were a Gemini sun prior to the progression, you loved the unfamiliar and you inserted yourself in such a position where you were within unfamiliar circumstances almost all the time. And suddenly when you have the progression, you feel like you need this to change, you need this to shift. Finally, maybe you settle down for a city. Maybe you no longer want to work in this city and live in that city and travel all the time because it's tiresome, right? It's tiresome now. When you have a Cancer progression, you don't have as much energy. You become a bit more lethargic. You want to do a lot more things from home. Maybe you no longer feel like you want to go to a coffee shop. You want to cook dinner at home, cook a cozy breakfast at home. You may get into cooking a lot and nurturing other people in general. taking care of other people. An external experience with this progression might be you become a parent, you get married, you move in with someone, you start to build your own little family, you start to play house basically. If this progression happens when you are younger, this could look like maybe your parents did not live together and suddenly they get back together, or maybe you had one parent only as a Gemini child, and now that you have this early progression into Cancer, suddenly your parent finds their soulmate and they move in with them, and finally you have a family, you have a home. It could be also that you lived somewhere else renting until like a house or an apartment was built, and once you have the progression, you move in your apartment and you stay there for the rest of your life. This can look like also living with grandparents as a child, by the way. If you have the sun very early progress in Cancer, you may have your parents go work and having to travel for work, having to work abroad, so you move in with your grandparents. I think that's it. When you have this progression, you will become a lot more interested in exploring your family roots. You will become a lot more interested in the ancestry, basically. Getting to know the family, getting to know where you come from. And because you've got Gemini, especially if you had this when you were younger, because Gemini rules communities, friends, siblings, cousins, especially young people that learn together. I came up with the idea today when I was contemplating about, kind of channeling the placements. I was like, this progression from Gemini into Cancer, especially at an early age, may look like you were a child in a foster care. And when you have the progression, you get adopted and you find a family. Or you... No, I was going to say, or you figure out you were adopted, like you find out news like that, but that's more Scorpio. That's like secrets and stuff. But yeah, this is more so about coming into a familial space, coming into a family, finding a family, etc. So yeah, for example, you were given for adoption, you were living in foster care, you were having all these friends that had the same fate as you, but suddenly you get adopted. And because you move from Gemini into Cancer, there's a process of isolation, and for some of you this will be desired isolation. You just feel like you're more introverted, you want to spend time alone. For others of you, this would be forced isolation, where maybe you lived in a big city and suddenly your parents decide to build a house outside of the city, move you to a new school, a smaller town, going to live into a village, and now all that you know is your family and your family house. All that you know, all that's part of your life is your family house. You no longer have these different friends and having to travel by bus, etc. Everything becomes a lot more secluded, a lot more closer to you, if that makes sense. Like your friends live closer. Yeah, you enter some sort of community. That's also interesting with the progression into Cancer. You may, if you're an adult, you may move from the big city into like a neighborhood that's very community oriented. It's a very small neighborhood. Only certain social classes live in that neighborhood. And things become a lot smaller, a lot more secluded, a lot more community based. What else? Let's see. Oh yeah, you may have genetic things activated or triggered. This can be a disease or a quality from a family member. So maybe your grandfather was a painter and you realize you love painting now and you're actually good at it. Or it could be something, genetically inherited that's been latent in your body and is suddenly activated. So with this transition, you should definitely pay attention to your stomach. to your breasts if you have such. Whether you're a woman or a man, we all have breasts, right? I mean, smaller or bigger, whatever. But you should pay attention to these, and especially if there are any like family diseases running in the family, you want to pay attention, especially if these issues are specifically located in those areas of your body. What else? Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for Cancer. So we're going to move on to Leo, the progressed sun in Leo, which is interesting because the sun is at home in Leo. So this progression is maybe one of the best progressions. This is when the Cancer that was shy becomes super confident. They start loving themselves, they start appreciating themselves, they start embracing their creative talents, and they start to come out of their shell. They allow themselves to shine. They no longer approach life passively like this. You know how the crab walks walking toward you with its side facing you? Well, the lion suddenly stands up and watches you straight in the eyes, straight in the face. This is when Cancer embraces their queenly and kingly energy. I'm gonna continue really quickly with this message, but first I'm gonna go grab some water. Okay, I'm back. I do have my water bottle here. So when your sun progresses from when your sun progresses from Cancer into Leo, oh, the light is back on. We're talking about Leo here. We cannot stay in the shadow. This is the type of change when someone who did things at home, maybe you had a lot of hobbies that you did from home, a lot of like handmade crafty hobbies, and suddenly you become popular or known or recognized for all that you do. Your whole persona becomes more recognized. You may gain sudden fame. You may inherit family businesses, by the way. With this progression, because you were so family oriented, you may have a glow up, like the entire family has a glow up. You inherit money, or you have a glow up. I mean, you improve your living situation, basically. Recognition, fame. Someone in the family may get into politics. If you are very community oriented as a Cancer sun, suddenly you either get some connections, like you get to know people in the political field, or you enter the political field because you cared so much, and when your sun goes into Leo, you realize that I care so much, I might as well become the one who fixes things. Your confidence comes alive. Of course, your need for validation also becomes exaggerated. And we have a very drastic shift here, because from the moon we become the sun. Someone who was a night owl may become a morning person. You may start enjoying spending time in the sun a lot more, going to the beach, sunbathing. You may land on an acting career. You may realize that your deep connection to your emotions as a Cancer sun can actually serve you very well in becoming a leader, an actor, an artist. Your self-expression will be basically put out there in the public eye. Yeah, you may have like your first photo shoot, your first exhibition, your first movie, job, just fame and public recognition. These are the biggest thing with your sun going into Leo. You feel a lot more vital in general. You feel a lot more alive. You feel a lot more healthy. You feel excited to live, to experience things. You feel like you have the energy. Like there is this fixed fire, a constant burning fire that never dies out. And warms you up. It's not like Aries. It's not like go, 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 go in this direction, let's do it, new beginning, I'm so excited, let's take a risk, I'm brave, I want to be on the edge at all time. Leo is like, we're warm, we're all warm at all times, we're loved, seen, I'm the king, there's nothing to prove. You gotta prove to me how much you respect me. I've got nothing to prove to you. That is Leo energy. So you will feel fiery and extroverted, but in a calm, peaceful way. Except if you're not someone who has lots of insecurities. This is when Leos can become very very egotistical, very self-centered, and borderline annoying. But this is also a progression where, from someone who was very shy, or maybe you didn't have boundaries, you took care of everyone as a Cancer sun, you were always concerned with other people, now you're a lot more concerned with yourself, and now you're figuring out who you are. That's it. Because Leo is ruled by the sun is at home here, and the sun rules your ego and identity, you become a lot more confident in your identity, you discover your identity, now you're no longer confused, and you don't allow people to persuade you to see yourself in lights in which you don't want to see yourself. You stand up for yourself a lot more, you're willing to fight. Leos are slow to trigger, but once they're triggered, they're gonna eat you. So yeah, you're just a lot more braver and courageous to defend yourself and to claim that you are who you are. There is a lot of self-discovery here. Suddenly you serve yourself a lot more than others. I mean, you become nurturing towards you rather than only other people. The shadow self here, of course, the shadow aspect of this progression could be becoming too self-centered and ignoring other people's needs and becoming annoying because of this. What else with Leo? With Leo, there is some sort of style or, appearance change that you may experience. I would say usually when you have any progressions into Leo, into Taurus, you've got like a glow up. These are the glow up signs of the zodiac. So I think for most of you it's going to be a great progression. What else? Having fun. Again, having fun, but not like Gemini. Gemini is about, I want to try everything. I don't care if I'm going to have fun. I just want to try it and see how it feels like. Leo wants to have fun, so you may enter a phase of wanting to party, wanting to dance, wanting to sweat with people and be close and intimate with people. You may be a lot more interested in intimate relationships, casual dating, the dating scene overall. And if you have this progression later on in life, like maybe you're 40, 50 years old, this may feel like a second youth, like a second teenagehood or a second 20-something hood. You may feel young again. Suddenly you just feel young, motivated, and inspired to live life. So inspiration is huge for Leo. For this Leo progression, you will find inspiration for a lot of things that felt dull in the past, and you're going to just change your life in a way that it's no longer dull. And yeah, I think these are the major things about Leo. So I changed up the settings a little bit because I didn't get to finish it in one go, the whole video I mean. So we left at Leo, we finished Leo. Now let's go over Virgo and what happens when your sun progresses into Virgo. Now Virgo it's an interesting sign because it's also ruled by Mercury, just like Gemini. So you will have yourself a lot busier than usual. The thing is, Gemini gets busy because they want to be busy. They look for the adventures and diversities and different experiences. Virgo becomes capable in doing so many things that people just know that the Virgo person is the person to go to. So when your sun progresses into Virgo, first thing first, in Leo, you were a party animal, you wanted to have fun, to be the center of attention, you were this important persona in social circles, maybe on social media, maybe even just among your friends. You were kind of like the center of attention, the one who was turning the wheels in the group. Now when your sun progresses from Leo into Virgo, you have this big shift from someone who partied a lot, wanted to love life and just enjoy life and have fun. That was the uttermost priority. Now with Virgo progressed sun, suddenly you feel like you've got to adult a little bit, you've got to become more responsible. You feel like all this partying is not really doing anything beneficial for you, except yeah, you're enjoying yourself, but it's short-term pleasure. When your sun progresses into Virgo, you become a lot more conscious, um, a lot more conscientious as well. Not just conscious. You become very aware of your unhealthy habits and of your extremes, and you try to balance these. You are gonna start implementing minimalistic approaches in life toward a lot of things. You're gonna get a lot more organized, you're gonna feel a lot more responsible, you will have harder time just letting go and having fun. Your friends maybe, like, especially if you build your social circles, which a lot of Leos do that, if you build your social circles based on the people you only had fun with, like only people that you can party with and go out with, suddenly when your sun progresses into Virgo, you may realize how many superficial friends you've had, how many of your relationships were based on being friends with each other just because you have fun together, but no one is there for you for the hard stuff. No one is there for you for the hard parts of life. No one really truly supports you. There's no one you can actually rely on. When your sun progresses into Virgo, you learn that the only person you can truthfully rely on is yourself. And it's very likely that during this progression, any area of life in which you lacked skills or knowledge, you will work really hard to compensate, because you will realize, I am the one who controls my life and controls the outcome of my life. I'm the one who's responsible for myself, no one else. Virgo is really the, if I have to like give an example with the zodiacal wheel and different ages of the life cycle of a human being with an average lifespan, Leo, the fifth house, and the sign of Leo is the teenager that just wants to have fun, a bit rebellious. It has Aquarius on the opposite side of the axis, a little rebellious, wants to have fun, wants to experience life, and it's determined that I know who I am, look at me, validate me, I am here. The personality development is very important. We've got different hobbies, we're exploring, we're dating, we're having fun. And we're young, youthful, we're childlike, still very playful. Then Virgo is when you pass a certain 20 something point, 20 something age, and you're like, I have to adult about my finances a little bit because money is slipping through my fingers way too easily. I have to start cooking for myself. I cannot eat outside every time, or I cannot stay up late every night and really get wasted on the weekends because Mondays feel so tough. At some point you realize that, oh shit, I have to grow up. So that is Virgo. Virgo is where we grow up, where we adult. Not fully the full-blown adult wisdom where you know how things are done, you know the real world. Oh, my alarm. Okay. You know the real world. This happens in Capricorn, but in Virgo you get to know the real world little by little. You realize that you're part of the system, you're part of a hierarchy, a system, you're part of this practical, social and ecological and financial field. Like, you're part of so many fields, you play in those fields, and you're the one who decides. You realize that it's not all fun and games. You just have to get serious about things. Now, with Virgo, there might be a health crisis, or once again, an isolation crisis. Virgo rules the Hermit in Tarot. So I always think of Virgo because it's also an earth sign and it's ruled by Mercury. So you're feminine, introverted, but you're ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the messenger. So there is this internal, everything that Gemini does on the outside, the communication, the networking, all of that, Virgo does on the inside. Virgo builds a network on the inside. Virgo becomes the financial consultant for themselves. Virgo becomes the fitness instructor, the health practitioner or advisor, I guess, the medical person for themselves. They do everything for themselves. If Virgo is the person that people go to, Virgo becomes the person that they themselves go to. Like, they don't go to other people. Virgos very rarely ask for help. So when your sun progresses into Virgo, you may become a lot more isolated. First of all, if you had fake friends, they may stop hanging out with you because you're no longer as fun as you used to be. With that progression, you may hear this a lot. You will definitely begin your healing journey. There might be a health crisis that wakes you up, or an isolation crisis that wakes you up. You may realize, either through a health crisis or through this isolation crisis, that the way I lived my life was a bit irresponsible, or maybe a lot irresponsible. The way I lived my life is not sustainable long term. The way I lived my life is not something I can prioritize. The way I lived my life is not systematic. When your sun progresses from Leo into Virgo, suddenly you will be very interested in setting up systems. You will be very interested in setting up routines that are not like the Taurian routine. This is what I like, this is what I'm gonna do. Don't give me no advice. Virgos have routines, but they always improve them. So there is change. After all, you gotta remember this is a mutable sign. So you're gonna experience changes, and it's ruled by Mercury. But the changes are internal, and all the commuting that Mercury does within Gemini, the socializing, once again, it will be done internally, meaning you will try to connect different pieces of information within yourself to improve yourself, your personal life, your personal routine. With Virgo, everything is personalized, because Virgo is an evolved Leo, so we come from Leo. You gotta remember, Gemini comes from Taurus, where Taurus is ruled by Venus. We love relationships with Venus, right? We love love. And that's why Gemini is more of a social butterfly, and it's also an air sign. With Virgo, we've got cold earth, but it's still hyper mental. So a lot of mental gymnastics, a lot of mental flexibility, but it's all happening on the inside. And we come from Leo, where it's fire. The individuality was important. We love ourselves. With Venus, we love to be loved. We love others and exchanges of love. We love harmony. Harmony never happens just with one unit. Harmony happens between two polarities. Virgo comes from fire, fixed fire, where it's like, yeah, I gotta become hyper mental and overanalyze not my external circumstances or other people, but myself. And on this journey, because you judge yourself so hard at the beginning of this progression in order to take the necessary steps for evolution, you may also start judging other people super hard. But it's a good and a bad thing at the same time. It's good because you're gonna become a bit more picky with who you hang out with. You're gonna become a bit more observant and protective about your energy. You're gonna start recognizing who uses you and who doesn't. Although Virgos are so set on helping people that they may let themselves be used because it's beyond... Actually, yeah, their pride goes beyond their need for self-preservation. Once again, that's very Leo Lion-esque, and it's inherited in Virgo. Virgos are very prideful, actually, very, very prideful, that they can help you. They may not like you, but they love to brag about all the things that they can do, and that's inherited from Leo. So yeah, with this progression, you're gonna become a lot pickier with the friends that you choose, with the friends that you hang out with the people you spend time with the things on which you spend your energy. You're gonna become a lot more mindful about your energy expenditure, your resources, because after all, it's an earth sign, it's a mutable earth sign, but we've got an internal thing going on. So it's like you're thinking and strategizing how to spend your internal resources in order to build a sustainable lifestyle, and how to improve that lifestyle, always by looking up new information, finding out the latest information in order to improve your lifestyle. You're gonna get a lot more interested in health, self-improvement in general. But I think for a lot of you, this is going to be like a spiritual awakening period. You're going to have like a healing era beginning. You're going to feel that indeed you are on some sort of healing journey. You may dive into certain spiritual practices in order to heal the deficit of meaning in your life, because Leo is the sun. It's our ego, our soul identity. Leo is beautiful energy. I've got a moon in Leo. I love this energy, having fun, being playful. But very often, Leos may live a life with no deeper meaning. Virgo is where you begin to research, or you start to get into finding a deeper purpose, a deeper meaning, because Virgo, on the opposite side, you've got Pisces, and Pisces is about generosity, unconditional love, charity, union with a higher collective, being connected to a higher collective, being connected on a higher scale to people. So you realize how important you are as an individual and how important it is to heal, but at the same time you start seeking little by little this communion with the other, because the first 6 signs, it's the lower chart, it's the lower part of the chart from Aries up to Virgo. This is the evolution of the self. Even Gemini being so social, even Cancer being so family oriented, it's still, who am I? How do I fit here? While the rest of the signs from Libra to Pisces is, who are you? And how are we connected? Why did we meet? These are the core questions. We meet the other from Libra through Pisces, and we get to know ourselves from Aries through Virgo. And because Virgo and Libra are right next to each other, there is this transition where Virgo is the sign where the interest in how can I help other people, like how can I make myself a better individual because I affect other people some way, somehow, it will become a mental shift for you, because the next sign is Libra and you're preparing for this evolution as well. What else with Virgo? What might happen? Some of you may get into some of you may start your first real job. You may land your first 9 to 5 job with Virgo. You might get a pet that has a very significant role in your life. And a lot of you, I think, with this progression might discover your inner calling, a deeper meaning to life. An overall spiritual awakening and a spiritual healing journey is beginning with this progression. I think that's all I can think of right now. I mentioned the health crisis, the friendship crisis. I think that's all I can think of right now for Virgo, as in external events that may take place once this progression happens. The next sign is Libra. Ooh, super interesting. Libra has always been unique energy to me. I used to be not very fond of Libra energy, maybe because I have my North Node in the 7th house, although it's in a different sign. But yeah, Libra energy, at first I didn't understand it, much like Taurus, like the Venusian signs. I didn't click with. My Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, so I guess I didn't click with it initially. But the more I researched it esoterically, Libra is it's the sign of the prophecy. Libra is connected to the future, and I discussed this in my PDF that I'm writing for my astrology book, where the cardinal signs correspond to time. So you've got Aries and Libra being the present and the future, and Cancer and Capricorn being the maybe still the present, but they're linked to the past. So Aries and Libra is how we look at the future from the present moment. Cancer and Capricorn are how are we connecting to the past from the present moment, and how do we anchor these the future and the past into our present moments. And it's really interesting. But yeah, Libra is the prophet. Libra is very, very psychic because it's ruled by Venus. It connects to other people. But it's also an air sign, and it's almost telepathic and empathic at the same time. Libras can be either really cold intellectual individuals, and you may feel like they're not necessarily someone that is warm and you can share your emotions with them. You may think of Libra as the classy, structured, or not structured, but the put together individual. Or on the other side, they're the people that are very empathic and very emotional and get lost in other people and how other people perceive them, and they're all up in their feelings. So they're either really air or really Venusian. I've seen only the extremes with Libra, honestly. And of course, when Libra balances these two, this is when they become very psychic. This is when they become very psychic. This is when they get on their twin flame journey. So when you have the progression from Virgo to Libra, all your life you've been all about helping people, but also being responsible, being organized, being very logical. When your sun progresses into Libra, suddenly you realize that you cannot make relationships a task. You cannot be a perfectionist in relationships. You cannot project your perfectionism on relationships. You cannot decide what's best for your partner without asking them or without even considering what they would think. Because as a Virgo, you get almost programmed by the people around you. A lot of people would tell you, I don't know what I would have done without you. It's so great to have you. You're such an expert in this or that field. Like, a lot of people will validate to Virgos that, yes, indeed, they know what's best. And sure, Virgos just have a lot of information that's practical and useful. Geminis have random facts. Virgos have the practical, useful facts. So that's why Virgos are their self-belief that they're very practical and useful and they can always be of service gets validated because they do serve. And then they create another opinion that they're always right. And then with the progression into Libra, you realize that this is not how you communicate with other people. You cannot communicate with other people from a point of conviction that you're always right, because different opinions, subjective opinions, especially in relationships, emotions are involved. So you're gonna have a huge shift in your relationships, how you relate to other people. You're probably gonna have a very significant relationship either begin or end, or somehow transform when you have the progression from Virgo into Libra, but I think rather a beginning or ending. You're gonna have some sort of contract for sure. You're gonna sign up some sort of contract, or some significant one-on-one relationship will change your life, change the course of your life. With this progression, we're not just talking about, oh, you met your new best friend. We're talking about something that really changes the course of your life. Maybe you were studying, you were very diligent, you had a dream, but then you meet someone who is like, do you want to come live with me or travel with me or study abroad with me? And you change your plans because of this other individual. You change the course of your life because of this other individual. Or you find someone who is very much like you and you combine power and knowledge and assets, and you start working together. But your life becomes, when you have that progression, your life becomes very entangled with other people. Remember how I mentioned in Virgo you enter a hermit mode, you're isolated because you gotta reflect about the types of people you are allowing and tolerating around you. Well, when the sun goes into Libra, now you're coming out of the hermit mode, you're coming out of a healing era, you're coming out of the self-improvement era of your life, and now you gotta play the game. You learned the rules, you learned the strategies, now you gotta play the game. And usually you don't play games with alone, you play with other people. There are other players on the playground, so you gotta learn how to play with other individuals. How do you apply all the practical knowledge and strategies with another individual? So Libra is really a test, because the first 6 signs we've been developing the personality. Now within Libra we've got to see what have we really learned, like out of all the lessons, out of all the things all the conclusions we came up with, which ones are useful, which ones are gonna benefit the relationships, which ones are actually applicable in the situation. So Libra is definitely a test. After all, Libra corresponds to the Justice card, and this is a very karmic period for you. Definitely activation of karmic soul contracts. As I told you, you might meet your soulmate, your twin flames. Libra, from an esoteric standpoint, is a point of equilibrium, a point of a pause. The soul pauses, reflects. You start to develop your inner judge. You start to decide what's good and evil. That judgment really started to develop in Virgo, but it wasn't. Virgo was more logical. With Libra, there is a deeper, more penetrative ability to look at things. And you start to, because listen, Libra is ruled by Venus, right? Venus is the planet of harmony. Venus decides what she likes and what she doesn't like based on how she harmonizes with this thing. So that's why I told you Libras are very psychic. Now in Libra, you develop an inner judge about good and evil, not based on the facts that you read, but based on what harmonizes with you and what doesn't. And this really reaches a culmination point in Scorpio, where a full-blown psychic experience happens and you read the soul of a person. In Libra, it's like a nudge, a feeling, an intuitive decision that you're making when you decide this is good, this is bad, this is good for me, this is bad for me. In Scorpio, it's very you feel it in your body. Scorpios, because they, on the other side, they have Taurus, the 5 senses. The psychic experience for Scorpio is very visceral. For Libra, it's more intuitive, mental, abstract. It's like, I'm just not vibing with this or vibing with that. They don't know why exactly, but they know it. And that's why a Libra's judgment is really, really good and really valuable. But yeah, contracts, relationships will be the major focus for you, and you will learn how to decipher which relationships are good, which relationships are bad, how to apply everything you've learned about yourself, and how to compromise. Oh my god, in Libra, you will start learning about compromises. You will start learning the art of war. You know, during this progression, many of you should read this book. I haven't read it fully. I've watched some summaries and I've read a couple of pages of it, honestly. But I just think it's the perfect representation of what Libra is, the art of war. Because war usually happens between one polarity and another polarity, between person A and person B, between community A and community B. Internal war, internal conflict, this happens in Scorpio. Libra is external. The conflicts within Libra usually are the mirror effect. Oh yeah, when your sun progresses into Libra, you're gonna have a lot of mirror effects in your external reality. Other people will reflect back to you what's happening on the inside. They will mirror your shadow, they will mirror your light. And that's how you're going to start deciding what is good, what is bad, who is good and who is bad for you, based on this mirroring effect. Seeing yourself in another individual, this is when the seeds for empathy are being planted. Funnily enough, it's not necessarily in Cancer. The seeds, you could say, are planted in Cancer, but are really planted to me personally in Libra. In Libra, because you start to see yourself in other people, and empathy is being able to imagine what it would be like to be in another person's shoes, experience what they're going through, and how would I feel? How would I feel? That is empathy, right? It's the what was it called? Mirroring neurons in the brain, where they make you mimic other people when you like them, or even when you don't like them. They create this. They aid the social dynamics and the communication. So definitely, when your sun goes into Libra, a lot of mirroring will happen. You will see yourself in other people. You will start developing empathy. You will start developing a sense of, hey, I'm not the only one in this world. I don't want to be alone in this world. Relationships will become a lot more important, a lot more valuable to you. After all, Libra is ruled by Venus, which rules values. So relationships will be valuable. Now, another thing, you may have dealings with the low systems because Saturn is exalted in Libra. And because so far you've been a Virgo, working very diligently, you might achieve some sort of solution or success when your sun goes into Libra. You may see results after a long period of hard work. You may finally see results. The law system may finally work in your favor. On the opposite, if in Virgo, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, if you try to play the system, because Virgos love to know how, they love shortcuts, they love to optimize, right? So some Virgos, their shadow side would be, how can I trick the system? How can I find the shortcut? How can I play those who try to control me? After all, it's a mutable sign. You cannot really restrict a Virgo. They restrict themselves. No one else can. So if during your sun moving through Virgo, if you were into cheating the system, finding shortcuts, not really living by the law and by the rules, in Libra, because Saturn is exalted there, sure, that's a good position, but in Libra, you gotta remember, karma, justice will get back to you. So you will either receive good karma or bad karma, depending on how dutiful and responsible you were in Virgo. I was going to say something else about karma. You're basically gonna reap what you sow. Yeah, so about karma, remember how I told you Libra is a point of pausing and relaxing and resting and observing and reflecting. That's because this is when you receive the final fruits from the seeds that you've planted. That's when you finally receive the results of your actions. Basically, you see them in manifestation in Libra. It's when you receive your karma, good or bad. So that's it. I think I'm repeating myself, so I'm gonna move on. Let's move on to Scorpio, which is the next sign. So when your sun progresses from Libra into Scorpio, okay, this is when you can have one of your most intense relationships once again suddenly end or suddenly begin. But it's not just a significant relationship that alters the direction of your life. It's a relationship that changes you on the inside deeply. It's a relationship you're gonna remember forever. It's the love surgery of your life, if you will. And whether you're gonna live or not after that really depends on you, but it's gonna be altering to your ego, completely transform you from the inside out. Of course, you may see external changes as well. When your sun goes from Libra into Scorpio, you may join your finances with a spouse, you may experience a significant death in your life, someone around you. You yourself may have a near-death experience, whether it's like an accident or you think you're about to die. Now, a lot of Scorpios, they may not resonate with the near-death experience, not literally, not in the sense that you think of it traditionally. They're like, but I've never been in a hospital being told that I almost died and they saved me. No, but Scorpios can have a near-death experience psychologically. You may either believe that you're dying, be convinced that something is gonna be the death of you, be scared for your life, almost like really you face death one way or another. It's either happening to someone close to you, someone around you that affects you and impacts you, or to you, whether it's like literal or metaphoric, you face that at some point, and we all do. But with this progression, it's really life altering, period. You may have a spiritual experience as well, a crazy paranormal experience, a crazy spiritual experience. You may have a very significant, almost destined meeting with a psychic, with an astrologer, with an occultist that reads your future, and ever since you've met them, everything is different. Your beliefs are different, complete change of your beliefs. Maybe this is when you start believing in the other side, start believing in spirit, start believing in spirituality, the occult, esoteric knowledge and information, etc. You start believing in paranormal stuff around that time. From Libra, who is, I told you, empathic, but still logical, it's an air sign. With this progression, you realize that you may have this epiphany that there is so much beyond the surface. Libra, one of the reasons why I didn't vibe with their energy is that most Libras that I've met and known like to remain on the surface. They don't like to really dig into the dirt of things and see what's brushed under the rug. They really don't like to do that. Sometimes they do it, but it's not enjoyable. They're not interested. They prefer to be loved, to be happy, and to experience peace and harmony, which is great and valuable. But when you have the progression, you may have a rude awakening through a relationship. You may have a rude awakening through abandonment, some sort of loss. Usually, I've said this in my Scorpio archetypal ascension video, how Scorpios are initiated archetypally, and I said that most Scorpios will be initiated through a love situation, deep love that completely transforms you. That's very likely, especially for a progression of the sun, because you come from the sign of relationships, Libra, and you enter the sign of the other side, and of death, Scorpio, and the sign of alchemy as well. So definitely an alchemical event is happening. You may get divorced. I told you an ending or a beginning of a relationship, but specifically divorce, because the 8th house is the house of change and transformation, and also it's the house of intimacy, and when it's the inside of a relationship. So you may go through a divorce. I mentioned the paranormal experience. Oh yeah, you may have a huge financial loss or gain after investing, after joining your finances with someone else, after taking a loan from a bank. You may go bankrupt, so be careful. You may become very rich after losing either a relative or a spouse. You may also get really into tantra. You may have a mind-altering sexual experience. You may also have a traumatic experience of that kind, of that nature. What else? Just a taboo experience that makes you face your shadow, that's it. With Scorpio, it's very difficult to talk about light topics. So, yeah, with this progression, your mind will deepen. Even if you thought of yourself, maybe you had Mercury in Scorpio, you were a Libra sun with Mercury and Venus in Scorpio, so you've always had the deep mind. Well, guess what? When your sun goes there, you're gonna dive even deeper, and you're gonna have a deeper perception of your own personality. You're gonna analyze yourself, your psychology, the dark aspects of your psychology. You're gonna analyze your shadow. You may have breakthroughs and great epiphanies, realizations about who you are, why you do the things that you do. But I feel like it's very, very likely the external events that will happen are gonna be taboo. They're gonna be life and death, life or death type of situation. They may involve the police, they may involve murder, stalking, just this transition, this progression, excuse me, in terms of external events can create something that it's really intense to talk about. So you can go from here and imagine all the things that are very difficult to talk about. That could happen. Of course, you can only predict what exactly it would be based on aspects, other planets, etc. Degrees, the sign, of course, from the aspects that it makes, the aspects that the sun makes to other signs in the house where this is happening, because you may have your sun progressing from the 7th into the 8th house, but in different signs, and you still may have some 8th house activity like police, murder, stalking, all of these taboo topics, or you may have progression into Scorpio but in the 3rd house. So okay, the 3rd house is about your neighborhood, so not necessarily, but you may have it in the 2nd house, so it could be strictly finances related, or the 1st house, it's strictly personal, or the 10th house, it's strictly career. Pay attention to the house, definitely. With this intense sign, I don't want you to get paranoid about your upcoming progression from Libra to Scorpio. But whatever it is, it's gonna be taboo and it's gonna be life altering. That's it. And it's likely to involve another individual, emotions, spirituality, spiritual contracts, energy behind the scenes. It's very likely that the situations will involve some sort of occult element. You'll be like, yeah, I was stalked or whatever, but I had this psychic tell me this and that about my stalking situation. It's like the occult aspect of the taboo situation, no matter how intense it is, will bug you more than the situation itself. It's gonna be like, yeah, murder happened in my family, but the person that got murdered was like diving into some forbidden stuff, or they were doing this and that, and I feel like they almost evoked the situation. You will listen. You will be very talkative and conscious of the dark taboo aspects and points of views on the situation. So you will analyze it like never before. You will consider things you would have never considered before. So yeah, be prepared for intense internal and external transformations. Now, from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Oh, something I forgot. When your sun progresses into Scorpio, you may become someone who believes in the evil eye, who suddenly starts to believe in the evil eye, who suddenly starts to feel like black magic is done on you or something like that. Remember that your psychic powers and your magnetism are enhanced with this progression, so you want to protect yourself extra more. Okay, so when your sun progresses from Scorpio to Sagittarius, things get lighter again. Depending on how deep you got yourself into the occult and esoteric stuff, things can get light again. I mean, if you got too deep into the occult, with Sagittarius, you might start teaching it. You might start preaching it. You might become a cult leader. You might travel to an exotic, spiritually intriguing country. You may start, you may become known for someone who is really good at magic, things like that. Yeah, with Sagittarius, magic with Sagittarius. I said what I said. Because Sagittarius tries to reach the gods, okay? With this progression, things can get lighter because Jupiter is coming to the front. We exit the underworld of Hades. We reconnect with Father Zeus, with Jupiter, and it's suddenly all about creativity again. It's all about wisdom again. It's all about having fun, being playful. But now, with the sun progressing into Sagittarius, you're gonna access your inner wisdom, you're gonna access your inner gnosis. A lot of people around you may say that you've become very wise all of a sudden, you've become very spiritual all of a sudden. You're gonna shift from someone who is into the occult into someone who is into spirituality. How is that different? You're gonna shift from someone who is interested in the taboo aspects of spirituality into someone who is interested in mastering the mind. So Sagittarius is the higher mind. Sagittarius is the opposite sign to Gemini. It's mutable fire. Sagittarius is the... If you think of our life having the purpose of learning, right? We come to Earth to learn, to acquire information, wisdom. The mutable fire of Sagittarius releases us from the body, releases us from the physical chains, releases us from the illusions of the physical world, and is supposed to take our higher wisdom into the higher planes. So we start communicating with the higher planes, with spirit guides, with angels, with gods. We start to, it's like we return all the knowledge we've gained back into the universe to enrich the universe. You're gonna feel a lot luckier, a lot happier, go-lucky type of a person if you were someone who was very black and white, who had a black and white mentality. Now you're gonna be a lot more happy-go-lucky. You're gonna be a lot more optimistic about the future. You're gonna become a lot more adventurous and purpose-oriented. You're gonna be seeking a deeper meaning to life, and it's most likely that you found a deeper meaning to life. Now you're just practicing your beliefs. With this progression, you may have your first long distance trip experience. You're traveling for the first time, you're leaving your country for the first time. There is a cultural shock for the first time. You can meet a very significant teacher. You can meet a spiritual teacher, definitely, with this progression. You may become a spiritual teacher. You may finally get a certificate, finally get published, finally get your book published. You may finally sign up for a master's degree or get a PhD. Like, you're gonna be interested in the higher levels of education. You're gonna be interested in freedom. You're gonna be interested in, how do I make myself a worldly citizen? How do I make myself a cosmopolitan type of a person? How do I become a cosmic citizen? A lot of you may awaken to cosmic origins with this progression. Mastery of languages as well. You may learn a new language. With this progression, you may move to a new country and live there for quite some time and learn a new language because of that. The ultimate goal with this progression is to rise above the animalistic desires. Now, the battle between the soul and the personality happens within Scorpio. We face death, we meet our demons, we work with our shadow, we have to overcome our own self. And then in Sagittarius, you have to fully rise above that, above your lower self, and fully connect to your higher self. So it's gonna be your journey of faith, and deeper faith is gonna begin when you have the progression in Sagittarius. You may travel a lot more, as I already told you, a lot more than you've ever imagined. You may have a world trip organized during this time. Many of you will become teachers, many of you. What else with Sagittarius? I think that these are the major changes that you will see when your sun progresses into Sag. Now, let's talk about what happens when your sun goes into Capricorn in progressions. So, this is when you really mature. This is when you once again settle down. This is when your system of beliefs, when your faith becomes a structure. This is when, Sagittarius writes the books, Capricorn builds the churches and the temples. So this is when you can really finally create your legacy, finally reach a point when you've accomplished something great and you feel proud of it and you become remembered for something. Now, if this progression happens really early, it's very likely that you will become a bit colder, a bit more difficult to connect with. So be mindful of that. When you have a progressed sun or any placement in Capricorn, you may once again become a bit more isolated, way too focused on your business, way too focused on your legacy, way too focused on carrying out promises you made to your family, or way too focused on being the mature one, the old wise one. And not even a wise one, but just the old one, the person that people really can rely on. With Capricorn, you can become a bit boring to people and difficult to love, to be quite honest, because you're gonna build a very tough shell around yourself and wrap up yourself in that protective layer. You may move in with a grandparent, you may move in with a father figure with Capricorn, or you may lose grandparents or a father figure with this progression, and that's gonna become the reason why you had to adult, or you had to pick up the load that wasn't yours to pick up. With Capricorn, you have to take care of something that's just Like, you have to. You've got no other choice, you've got no other option. If Virgo is still practicing and training to become an adult, Capricorn is the adult. So if you have this progression early, it's very likely that you are either the older child, you became like, an older sibling because you had a younger sibling, you are the older child, or you are the child that is just the more responsible one. You may become a parent to your parent. For some reason, your parent cannot take care of themselves. It's also when you may enter the corporative field. You may upgrade your whole lifestyle. Um, you may finally be able to buy the expensive cars and apartments, go on the expensive vacations, because with Sagittarius you were free, you were excited, optimistic, you were the nomad, the gypsy soul, the gypsy spirit. And now in Capricorn you are the old money individual. So this is the shift from a gypsy soul, someone who had fun anywhere with anyone and just enjoyed life, because you found a deeper meaning in simply being alive. With Capricorn, it may become also difficult to connect with spirit. It may become difficult for you to remain spiritual, or if you are slightly religious, you may become very stern and serious about it, almost like a sect. Um, Almost like you're a part of a sect that isolates you. With your sun going into Capricorn, you may it may become very important for you to be only with a certain class of people. Capricorn energy can create prejudices like that. After all, it's ruled by Saturn, the Lord of Time. You also may feel like you're running out of time all the time, like you haven't achieved enough. So, ambition, motivation, but pure ambition will be really heightened within you. You may develop a mindset that the things that are worthy in life are difficult. So you may block yourself without even realizing, because you install this belief that the things that are worthy are only the things that I work really hard for. If I didn't work hard for it, it's not worthy. And you may end up putting yourself in situations where you're struggling when you don't really have to. You may end up putting yourself in situations where you struggle in love, struggle in friendship, struggle in career, like making it difficult for yourself just to feel like you did that, like you could cope with that, you could manage the situation. So I don't recommend this at all. When you have this progression, it's super important to balance it with having fun, okay? Having fun, enjoying life, very, very important, because you may forget how to do that. What else with Capricorn progressed sun? You may inherit stuff, but unlike with Scorpio, where you inherit money and now you can use it and benefit of it, with Capricorn you may inherit like a business that you need to keep growing and developing. You inherit something that becomes your legacy but also your responsibility. And with the progressed sun in Capricorn, you can now is definitely the time to build your legacy. You will definitely build your legacy. Most Capricorns are always successful, but be careful that you don't become a slave to your legacy and success and productivity, because that's also likely to happen. And make sure that you don't close off your heart. When your sun progresses into Capricorn, you may have situations that force you to close your heart, because you may believe that being cold serves you better, and that is definitely not true. Capricorns, or Sagittariuses that became Capricorns, but yeah, you become a lot more serious about life overall. You no longer travel as much, or you go only on business trips. with this progression, you start to, in Sagittarius, you are formulating your belief systems. When the sun progresses into Capricorn, suddenly you start to adhere to certain traditions, and you start to become very traditional depending on the culture or belief systems you are interested in. You may become a traditionalist in that culture. So maybe you were born as Christian, got interested in spirituality, got interested in education, you were learning you were learning theology, you were learning anthropology, like the mythology, in Sagittarius. And when your sun went into Capricorn, now you are someone who can quote certain spiritual texts, or you live by the rules of those spiritual texts, and yeah, you become an example for a certain type of tradition and traditional values. You might feel old, no matter how old you are, when your sun goes into Capricorn. You might feel like you're the older person in the room, or the oldest, or you act more maturely than anyone else, and that makes you feel secluded. So you gotta remember how to have fun with this progression. What else with Capricorn? I think that's it. I think that's all I can come up with right now for a Capricorn progressed sun. So I'm gonna make a quick pause, and I'm gonna continue with Aquarius and finish with Pisces. So continuing with your sun progressing into Aquarius. Okay, this is when you start to rebel against all the structures that you set up for yourself, you accepted for yourself and for your family and for your friends and for the world in Capricorn. And also, depending on what you did in Capricorn, will tell you, are you going to have a socializing moment in Aquarius, or are you going to be further isolated? Because Aquarius is ruled by two planets, Saturn and Uranus. Saturn is the original traditional ruler, so Aquarius can be definitely isolated. But if you work more with the Uranian energy, if you have prominent Uranus placements, you're gonna be the unconventional, original, interesting individual. And when your sun progresses into Aquarius, because in the past you were a Capricorn, you were practical, you were legacy oriented, if you set up your legacy to be something that only you worked on, it's like, I only trust myself. I am the only one who can do this. I don't need anyone. I want to suffer. I want to make it hard for myself to feel like it's worth it. In Aquarius, you may find yourself having no friends, and that progression will really stimulate you to seek out friendships and connection with other people. You may sign up for clubs, you may sign up for, and by clubs, I mean when you have like a common interest and you go do that together, not going to, going clubbing. You may sign up for clubs, for classes where you meet people with shared interests and you have fun with them. You may definitely feel like you want to change up who you are, your personality. You want to innovate yourself. You want to change up your style. You want to let loose a little bit. You want to become a bit more open-minded. You want to meet unique individuals. But if you set up your legacy in Capricorn, like you had a great business, but that business was oriented toward people, like maybe you had also some air placements, and that sun in Capricorn made you someone who wanted to work with others, develop a business with other people. With the progression in Aquarius, you will have even more people, you will attract a public recognition, you may put yourself out there on social media. It's also, that progression is like, imagine when, people like, I guess, Steve Jobs, or just these people that created great technologies and softwares and things of that nature, they did it alone or with friends, and it was all supposed to kind of become, it had to be recognized by an already established business or a structure. Maybe you started something like this in Capricorn. When you were a Capricorn sun, you started a business that you needed to be recognized by a bank, by a bigger structure, another company. You started a small company that you wanted to be recognized. When you have the sun progressing into Aquarius, humanity will recognize your work. Humanity will recognize your legacy. It's not just going to be the people in the business that understand what you're talking about. It's going to become global. So with this progression, you're taking your personality, all that you've built, into the global field, and you become worldwide famous or worldwide recognized, or you serve humanity in some shape, way, or form, because Aquarius is the sign of humanitarian activities. So definitely you'll be more interested in humanitarian issues and social issues, and you may become the person who goes to protests. You may become the person who is very socially active. You may connect with your social activist, inner social activist. You may try to challenge the status quo after living under it for so long, and maybe you were tired by it in Capricorn, but you were sucking it up in order to, prove to the world that you could cope with an issue. But finally you're speaking out loud about this issue, no matter how controversial it is, no matter how misunderstood this issue is. With your sun progressing into Aquarius, you are embracing your uniqueness, you're embracing your quirks, you're embracing all parts of you that you used to ostracize, basically. Definitely new friend groups, definitely friendships become a priority, socializing becomes a priority. Idealistic visions become a priority. So you may start focusing all of your natal Capricorn sun energy into Aquarian activities, such as, okay, I'm someone who is very business oriented, but how can I make money and help people at the same time? Or how can I make money to help people? Like, how can I raise money for people? You will start using your business mind, your legacy oriented mind, around creating something that will aid humanity, and not just humanity today, but humanity in the future as well. So definitely website building, software building, building organizations and small businesses that help the community and the collective, and even like people that you don't know, people that live on the other side of the globe, helping people from a country so far away from you, you don't even know exactly where it is, but you're helping those people there. Like with Aquarius, you're gonna think about the whole earth. With all that you do, you're gonna think, how does this impact the entire planet? Okay. So yeah, definitely rebelling against corporations, corporate businesses, 9 to 5 jobs. You may leave a job that you've worked at your entire life. You may leave a job that used to be very important to you, that you were very valued at. Like maybe you worked at a job and you had, for so many years, that you had uttermost respect, you were close to a CEO or something like this, you were very career achieved. But when your sun progresses into Aquarius, suddenly you want to be freed. You want to be freed of restrictions, rules, matrices, and structures that limitate you and that don't allow you to fully be yourself and to embrace your ideals. You will be very, very focused on your ideals. That will, of course, accumulate in Pisces with the ideals. When your sun progresses from Aquarius into Pisces, you're gonna become definitely spiritual or interested in escaping reality. You may try, I'm not gonna say the word correctly, so I'm gonna list the substances. You may try certain drugs or mushrooms or things that just make you escape this reality. You may get into the arts, you may have your first successful movie. Pisces makes people great musicians and great filmmakers, okay? So you may get into these fields. With the progressed sun in Pisces, you're gonna become a lot dreamier. You may have situations and experiences related to prison, hospitals, islands, remote areas, foreign countries that are, once again, very different from you. The culture is very different from you. You may have a significant spiritual experience in a foreign country. You may live for a long period of time in a foreign land. What else with Pisces? There is also a lot of self-undoing, so I think there's gonna be a huge sacrifice and a huge journey of letting go of who you thought yourself to be, of who you used to be, and you're gonna rediscover yourself. It's gonna be once again a healing journey, much like your journey within the sign of Virgo. You're gonna become a lot more empathetic, a lot more emotional, a lot more intuitive. Psychic abilities are heightened once again. Just like with Scorpio, you may have a spiritual experience or a paranormal psychic experience. There's spiritual enlightenment that can come with this progression. What else with Pisces? It feels like a closure. When you have your sun progress in Pisces, it feels like there is a closure to your identity, a reunion with God, with the universe. You once again feel connected to everyone and everything, and just you feel like you have begun the ending of a soul cycle. It's the beginning of the end of a soul cycle, of a soul journey. And you're receiving closure about a lot of things, you're letting go of a lot of things, but just be careful with escapism and addiction. You may develop an addiction, you may develop a necessity for certain opiates or certain pills for anxiety, for depression, things of that nature with Pisces. So remember that as well. It's very important to pay attention to your mental health. You'll be a lot more attentive, I think, to your mental health, but if you're not, you may try to numb yourself, so that's not really good to do when your sun progresses into Pisces. You gotta pour all of your energy into creative pursuits. Acting, like you could enter the field of acting. You may develop energy gifts, spiritual gifts that have to do with energy, other people's energy, healing people. Once again, generosity, charity. These are things that you'll be interested in with Pisces, just like with Virgo, but this time it's going to be a lot more about the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect. You may not be able to help people practically, but you'll be very interested in, I can sell these clothes, or I could donate them. I no longer need this or that, let me donate it. I can do energy work. Are you interested? Like a friend has a headache and you don't offer them a pill, or you don't mention a dietary change that they need to implement. You're like, sit on the bed, I'm gonna do some energy healing on you. This is what happens when your sun progresses into Pisces. You're interested in everything spiritual, energetic, abstract, untangible, and you're very interested in bringing a vision out to life. You're very interested in bringing the imaginary into life. So, yeah, with Pisces, you may have, once again, a situation where someone you love, or yourself, goes to prison, an asylum, a hospital, so be careful. Be mindful of that, especially if it concerns you or a very, very close loved one. You might lose yourself for a while, and I do think that with this progression, people usually find solace in spirituality one way or another, whether it's mushrooms and like drinking mushroom teas for concentration and trying meditation to heal your mind and mental state, or you're reading tarot cards and astrology charts, in some way, shape, or form, you're implementing spirituality to heal, to have closure, to improve your life, and to feel better, and to connect with yourself. So, yeah. What else? What may you experience with this progression? I think there will be a situation of great forgiveness or a great sacrifice that will bring you closer to your spirit. It's gonna make you feel more spiritual than before. An out-of-body experience, an astral projection might happen for you as well with this progression. Anything that opens up your mind to alternative realities, basically. So yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. There is definitely so much more that could be said, but I'm really thinking on top of my head about all the signs. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps and gets you interested in checking out your progressed chart. There are so many softwares that you can use. So many astrology websites that you can use and check out your placements, where they have progressed. And yeah, see what does that mean for you and what changes is it going to bring into your life. Let me know if you loved this chatty video. I really enjoyed doing it. It's something different and I like to keep it diversified. And yeah, just let me know if you're interested in other videos like that. I've asked you before. I don't do them often, but when I do them I really enjoy it, so I would love to do it again, and probably I will at some point. But yeah, just let me know about your experiences, and if you've tracked your progression, please give me specific examples that you think are the result of your progressions, because as an astrologer you learn best from people's experiences, and you learn those specific detailed manifestations of certain placements based on people's personal experiences. Like, this is when you can become really detailed and really precise with your predictions, when you see what's possible, really. So yeah, make sure to let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.